All right, I made a video the other day talking about hypertrophy and reps in reserve and high threshold motor units and why it's important to go to technical failure or very close. And I ended up taking that video and putting it on my website and adding some text. And one guy read it and got confused because I had mentioned in the article that it's not enough just to recruit high threshold motor units to get hypertrophy. And to make my example, I talked about training for power and training for explosiveness. So generally, when you train for power or explosiveness, there's going to be a cutoff point when you're losing enough power where you can't beat a dead horse. Basically, you should just end the set because you're not producing much power anymore. Same with explosiveness. So say you were doing a jump squat and you got fatigued and now you're not very explosive. There's going to be a cutoff point where it's just you're not training that strength quality anymore. And if you kept going because you could and you did a ton of reps, it's now you're training something else like strength endurance, for instance. So what I learned from Dan Baker, he's an Australian strength coach, I had said in the article, which I have to correct, that it was a 10% velocity cutoff he used, and that's what I used. So I scoured the internet. I wanted to make sure I was right because I haven't read anything from Dan Baker on velocity training in a while, and I was wrong. He said 20%, not 10%. So I'm going to change and edit that in the article. But I gave an example, and I'm going to show you in this video where I have a guy doing a jump squat, and we're measuring velocity measured in meters per second. And when he stops or when he loses a certain velocity speed, we end the set because, like I said, there's no point in training it anymore. So I have other things that I use to measure this. It's very important that this is measured. So here's another thing that I use to measure it, and this is like the holy grail, and I'm going to talk about this more in detail because this deserves many videos on its own of what it can do. But basically, it's really important that you measure these things as well, because if you're just trying to judge the speed off something with your eye, I'm sure there's some coaches out there that are good at it and some that are better than others and some that suck at it, but it's hard. You know fast when you see it, but you don't know how fast. And strength is measured in velocity. So there's all these different velocity zones that are going to dictate what strength quality you're trying to train. So again, if you're training for power or explosiveness, you have to be powerful or explosive. When you get too fatigued and you have too much drop off, you're no longer training that strength quality. Just real quick, I thought I might add this at the end of the video, but like I said, here's the Proteus motion. And power, we measure that, it's measured in watts, and velocity is measured in meters per second, and the Proteus motion measures a ton of stuff. Like I said, I don't want to talk about it too much because that deserves its own video. But like I said, we have devices here at my gym at Ascend Perform where we measure these things to make sure we're training the right strength quality. You don't want to show up for a test and you studied in English and show up and find out that the test is in German. That's kind of the best analogy I can think of off the top of my head, where it's really important that you train the strength quality that you need to train. Don't waste your time training the strength quality that you don't need. Find out what you need to train and then train the right thing. That's it.